Welcome to day 2 in ESTRO 2025. So I would like to gather us all here because we are about to start our Raysearch webinars, day 2. So for everyone around us who are curious to learn something more, something interesting, we are here for you. So please join us for this session, and we will kickstart the second day. So, yes, and the first webinar or first presentation that we have today, it's about a topic that I believe is extremely important, and it's picking up the momentum. And we feel that momentum, and that's why we decided to focus today on that topic. The topic itself, it has a very broad name because I believe it's also a good point to discuss for all of us. So that point is clinical data in radiotherapy. Are we ready for intelligence? So to give a little bit of a context of what we mean with that, we can just talk about data in radiotherapy and what is the current situation that we have as is today. So, each radiotherapy patient is estimated to accumulate around up to 10 gigabytes of data. That's a lot of data. And we have a lot of patients, and we're going to have more and more of these patients, right? So you see the problem. So we need to start thinking how to solve that problem. Then additionally, we generate not only the patient data, we also generate all the data that are linked to operational and financial things in the aspects in the clinics. So we put that on top, so we have even more data. And then data-driven oncology represents a new era in healthcare. So imagine if we can make use of all of these massive data amounts that we have in a clinical setup. We can then engage and enable the data-driven decisions. And the problem is that that data is so scattered and fragmented because of the inherited historical software unharmonization and not integral between each other. And we saw that problem, so we as Raysearch thought about bringing up a solution for that, and that solution that we call is Ray Intelligence. So we have a software, we aim to harmonize data there, and we have that solution at our booth. And this is the context, and that's what we want to talk about today. And then if we go back to the slide, the first one, I would like to present now our presenters and speakers for today. So we have here with us Michele Severino, from Switzerland, who is a medical physicist and who will represent the medical voice when it comes to clinical data there. Very nice to have you here with us, Michele.
Thanks for the invitation, Marta.
Of course.
Everybody.
And then also we have Fredrik Lokman, so Director of Machine Learning at Raysearch Laboratories, who will be the second speaker today. Welcome.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right, and you know what? I'll give it to you. So maybe you can tell a little bit more of Ray Intelligence and that solution that I just briefly introduced.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone being here listening. So I will talk a little bit about Ray Intelligence to give a background, and then we will have a discussion on some questions that are a bit broader about data in oncology. So we are developing a system to address the challenges with big data in oncology, trying to simplify the way that the clinics can handle automated data flows, automated dashboarding, and enable the clinics to make use of the data. And I think the complexity here today in the clinics is that you have a gold mine, a huge amount of data in different places. And it's always a challenge to harmonize and integrate that data into one place where you can actually focus on interacting, drilling down, and understanding the data. And the use cases for such a system is huge because it can be, as Marta alluded to, you can look at the overview of what's going on in the clinic. You can look at the efficiency of the way you operate the clinic. You can monitor what's going on in the treatment room with machine utilization, number of treatments per room, or maybe slice it in different ways. You can start looking for outcome data and connect it to treatment data. You can look at the treatment quality over time. Machine learning, model performance monitoring, it's a super interesting topic, of course. When you automate things, you need to monitor them. Then you need tools to monitor them. And finally, report generation in a flexible way. So just a few examples of how it looks like. I mean, you can come to the booth and have a demo if you want to see more, but just an overview. Which patients do we treat with this clinic over time? Are the trends there? What liver techniques? What are the top planners, top body sites, and so on. And you can create the charts yourself, so it's flexible in that way. In terms of efficiency of operations, you can monitor workflows over time, and you can drill down for different treatment sites and how much time do we spend on the different phases, connecting that to the RayCare system to monitor this over time, maybe finding bottlenecks in your operations to run the clinic more efficiently. And finally, I think we will come back to this a bit in the discussion. Outcome data is a huge untapped potential in the oncology world, in my opinion. How can you tie the treatment data, patient data to outcome data and start to connect the dots and try to understand patterns in your data to improve treatments over time? So with that, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Fredrik. So that was to give a bit of more information about Ray Intelligence. And as Fredrik said, you're more than welcome. Anyone who would like to see more of the product, we have it at the booth. Of course, that's why we're here. But that's the only reason why we are here. Also, the reason why we are here is to hear from the users, hear from you guys, hear what you're thinking, and hear from clinicians like Michele. So that's why we organized an open discussion, because data in radiotherapy, it is a topic that should be discussed amongst many roles and amongst us all. So let's start with the first question that we have here. So the first question says, when we say clinical data in radiotherapy, which types of data do you believe are currently mostly underutilized? Michele, would you like to start?
Yeah, why not? Okay, probably thinking about the question, the most underrated data we have and that we don't utilize, we use, are the longitudinal data from patients. For instance, when we build a model for auto-planning of the breast, every single dose distribution had, in a way, a history which was related to the clinical needs. And that means that the patient had an history, and how many times our clinicians, our radiotherapists ask to modify the standard of dose distribution because the patient was already radiated, I don't know, on the contralateral side, she had the cardiac toxicity, and so on. So we built a training cohort which was affected by patient history, but we didn't take into account that when we are when we are training the model. So the output is in a way taking into account everything, but it's not really specific to the need of the patient. With Raystation, we have the chance to use the strategies, so we can post-process in a way, or we can decide to have an automated dose distribution according to the patient needs. But probably if these two parameters, I mean the dose distribution and the reason why we have this dose distribution comes along together, would be very nice when building a model, in my opinion.
So I think I add a few things here as well. I think I'm a big believer in the feedback loop of data in the clinical practice. So I would say outcome data is the missing piece in many places today. So we know how we treat, but we don't really connect that to how did it go. And I think that to connect those two dots in an automatic way is where we should go. So putting outcome data in there, but not alone, because you need the patient data, the patient history, you need the treatment data as well. But if you can connect that with outcome data and actually learn from the outcome and toxicities, then you feed that information back into the AI model or into your templates or whatever it is at the clinic. And if you start to do that, I think that's a game changer for many clinics.
I just thought about one question. Can you start with respectively, not only data from today?
Yeah, I mean, you can, but I think we will come back to the harmonization of data topic later on. But there is one challenge for that, because today, typically, the data is not harmonized enough. So you need to put some extra efforts into that retrospective data, but of course you can. But it's like a little bit of a bulk of work to do that.
Right. Okay. Next question. So we see that there are challenges, right? How to use data. It's no question for that. But if there would be the fastest, but if we talk about what we today, we really need that. And what would be that data piece that you would believe the clinics would benefit most and most efficient?
Yeah, I think as Frederick was saying, is the harmonization. We really faced with our, well, we were quite sure when we started to build the model or to collect data for model training that okay, let's start with the breast because everything is well set. We have a very curated data already because we know it, but until we dive inside our data, actually we never realized, we realized at that time that we were really having a lot of differences between plans because of what I was saying before. Also because sometimes the dose prescription is not exactly the same because of the patient needs or the clinical prescription, and so I think that the best way is really to retrospectively now go ahead when you want to build a model and be sure, check your data, try to understand if the quality of your treatment plan is good enough. You know, sometimes we work with templates when we do treatment planning, but a template probably works for the average of the patient, but it's not the best for every single patient. And that means that in the end, you are doing what is okay for you, what is safe for patients, of course, but it's not nice at most, if you want. And for this reason, I mean, sometimes we also have when we evaluate treatment plans, we have, I don't know, something like a list of clinical goals that should work as well for every patient. But again, this is not what is needed when you want to build a model in a way. And probably it would be nice to review every single step of the treatment chain, starting from the contouring, for instance, and then passing through the set of more than clinical goals. I would define them physical goals, and which are really tailored on the treatment side, and then see also the quality of your treatment plan, and try to, if possible, to improve. And if there is room to improve, then it means that you are really going through the harmonization and you are really reaching what you're looking for to be.
Or you're learning from your own data.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I think my answer here is very much the same. It's harmonization. It's about having an ontology at the clinic. And I would urge everyone, like starting tomorrow, to align your RI names, tag the patients and plans, set up a process for that, because before you do that, it's very hard to analyze the data in an efficient way. However, automating workflows with AI or maybe with other methods has a clear benefit that you will run the clinic more efficiently. Another benefit is that you will harmonize the data on the way.
Yes.
And many, I don't know, I think it's a little bit less obvious, but that's a super nice benefit of automation. All the RIs will be called the same, all the protocols will be aligned, and so on and so on. And that in turn will enable the analytics. So I think automation is the key here.
Right. Thank you. So moving to the next question. And I think, so this is the question about the obstacles. So why cannot we have that in the current clinic setup? And I believe we're overlapping a little bit, and I hear you, and I would say that, so the question is, we often talk about cutting through the noise. So the noise of data. So what is the biggest obstacles now at the date, like the clinical workflows as it is today, that we are still unable to utilize fully data that we have every day being accumulated?
Well, I think there is an intrinsic noise, which is related to the manual planning. It should be solved with auto planning. But probably I think that the bottleneck actually is the treatment workflow and in the data integration better in the treatment workflow, because every time we pass from, I don't know, from the treatment planning to the OAS to the record verify system to the machine treatment, then we lose data because probably we are using different softwares which are not integrated at all. So we need to, in a way, try to manage every single step. And in every single step, by definition, we are losing data. And I think that, for instance, for you guys, Raycare is moving towards this direction. It's trying to really integrate the full workflow with treatment planning from one side and the machine on the other side.
I think historically clinics are not IT companies setting up the infrastructure for data analytics, and I think that's what we see now, that you have the different systems, the data is stored in different places. Often there's overlap of storage of the same information. So to put a layer that harmonizes that data, centralizes that data, makes it available and accessible, I think that is really the key, and that is needed. And maybe some clinics can do it themselves and set up huge IT projects to do this. But I think we as a vendor need to provide these tools, because I don't think clinics should focus on that data infrastructure, centralization and so on. I think the clinics should focus on creating value from that data and utilizing the data.
And I'm also thinking, is there any current framework that clinics could be taking in a way to harmonize their data handling?
Well, yes, in every single step. I mean, that's the point. Well, I was watching some presentation this morning, and you can really see that the noise that you have before an auto planning, whichever the nature of the auto planning is set in clinics, is reduced dramatically when you use auto planning. And normally, if you work well, also the quality of the distribution improves. So you reduce the noise, you improve the quality, you are working as you should do. And why don't we collaborate? I mean, between clinics, between hospitals. Once we have reached this top level of quality, we should probably disseminate that, just to be aware, to make the people aware, people that they don't use auto planning, which can be the goal, the final goal, when they are doing manual planning. Because you don't know. When you are doing manual planning, of course, there are a lot of limitations. There is the time limitation, of course. There is also the planning experience that takes into account, that plays a role, and so on. So probably, if all the clinics can provide some data in terms of auto planning, those distribution, it would be nice. Also to set the frame and also to see where we can go.
Yeah, and I think it nicely touches to the next question that we have, and this is about who needs to lead the change when it comes to implementing data-driven decision support. So is it vendors, is it the clinics, is it the policymakers? And so you started talking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Would you like to?
Yeah, I can add. Well, for sure. Now, I mean, in terms of regulations, I mean, we started our journey together, and the aim. Well, also the scientific association started at the same time, more or less, a couple of years ago, to figure out how to make every single model, from segmentation to auto planning and so on, as much as clear as possible in terms of transparency. And there is since we are in the ESTRO Congress, there is an ESTRO working group who is exactly working on this topic. We are trying to produce, or maybe to provide a model card for vendors, for instance, and also for independent people, for researchers, that should be fulfilled. And in every single item of this model card, we try to make everything as much as transparent in terms of model training, in terms of number of patients, in terms of also the range of validity of the model, the limitations. In this way, I think also people that are not used to work with auto planning, they can have, when they use a model for the first time, they can have a clear idea of what they are doing and what they can expect, which is much more important in my opinion.
It's about sharing experience and expertise, but I believe there should be some sort of central piece, right? And where to get that experience and how to facilitate that sharing. I think that's also what it's missing, or what is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going for a validation of AI model session this morning. I was 10 minutes late, and the room was closed, it was full.
Yeah.
So it's obvious. There is an interest, there are these really good movements of harmonization, standardization in the field, and we need to move in that direction together. And obviously it's a hot topic here at ESTRO. I would like to add on this question, though, that I believe that progressive clinics should actually set up a data team that focus on data handling, efficiency, automation, are responsible for making sure that the data is handled properly. And then we as a vendor could provide the tools to supply or support those data teams. But I think we need to start thinking about radiation therapy, radiation oncology, maybe oncology as a field. It's actually a big data problem. And you want to dedicate people to work on that.
Yeah, thank you. Great. And I believe that's the last question we have for today's discussion, which is only the beginning of this discussion to the entire topic. But so how do you envision solutions like Ray Intelligence or any other vendor that would provide similar, helping clinics to just not manage data, but fully transform patient care, so make it the full utilization of data?
Yeah, I mean, I've been using Ray Intelligence for a while. So far, well, from my experience, I was using it actually to check the quality of my training data, which is perfect. But in my opinion, probably it would be nice to have a tool, to have a software which provides the planner some alerts, I don't know how to call them, once the plan is finished, is finalized, just to see at the very end of the plan, just before approval and everything, where your plan is placed with respect to the full picture of your clinic. And because sometimes, I mean, you can have a plan which is an outlier, but we need probably to see why it is an outlier. Not probably, we need to understand why it's outlier. Probably, for instance, can be because of the anatomy of the patient, which is an outlier itself. So that's why the plan is not complying with the let's say with the range, with the expected range. And the intelligence, I think, can provide this information, and it would be also a useful tool for beginners, for instance. You know, so you can understand more or less where is your space of solutions in a way, and you can say, okay, I'm doing a good job right now. So, you know. Would be nice, yeah.
Again, expertise sharing. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe Ray Intelligence and other analytic systems, the role of them is to basically take away the boring stuff for the clinics, right? So we automate integration with different sources, we transform and harmonize the data, we do all that. And then the clinics don't have to bother with that part, because that's not so funny to dig into. But instead, we provide a UI that you can either click around in and create your own charts and dashboards. You can enhance the data model. And if you are skilled in Python or other languages, you have a nice interface where you can explore that. So we remove we automate the backend stuff. We fix that stuff, and then the users can do the fun stuff, actually learn from the data and make value out of it. So I think that's the role.
Yeah, and so thank you all. And to finish this discussion, I would just like to invite you at our booth again to have fun and to see these dashboards, to play around, to feel the power of data, what you can do how you can do that and try to take these first steps into making clinical data usable in radiotherapy departments. So, thank you, Frederick. Thank you, Michaela.
To you. Thanks.